Hey, what's up? Gary here. Need help getting started with neural captures on your Nano Cortex? Let's go check out how to do it. Okay, so for our neural capture today, I'm going to be capturing a dark glass photon bass preamp pedal. Essentially, this pedal is a preamp overdrive with some EQing that the dark glass made that's just very metal. It handles distortion fairly well. There's a lot of different variants in there. It's just a really good metal preamp. I like it a lot. And I use it often whenever I am playing metal for bass. So that's the pedal that I'm going to choose today. So we're going to treat it just as you would any distortion pedal or any pedal for that matter that you're going to do a neural capture on, so long as it's overdrive or something of the sort. Okay, a supported pedal for neural captures, which this one is for the most part. There is one caveat. There's compressors there as well, and neural captures don't really do that well with compressors. They don't really have the ability to emulate how that compressor would behave in all scenarios. So that's probably something I am going to put in front of the signal chain, in front of input later, to use as an external pedal. I do have a couple of compressors that I like to, or maybe I'll just use the photon as well. But at any rate, I more want to go through the process to do this capture, so that way you'll understand how to capture your own pedals in the future, or amps or anything that you want to get for IRs for that matter. So if you want to start getting into that, it's going to be basically the same process. So what I'd like to do really quick is I'm going to walk you through the wiring diagram of how you would go about capturing the pedal. I'm going to tell you how I'm wired up right now, which is going to be in the pedal mode, okay? And then there's going to be a couple other scenarios for amps and for cabs that I'm going to walk through quickly with you, just so you understand in the future how that's going to kind of work. Okay, and then finally we'll skip forward. I'm going to show you the actual process end to end on capture. I'm even going to capture the audio of what neural Nano Cortex is actually sending out to the device in order to be able to kind of like heartbeat it. You're going to hear some sound effects and things like that, so you can actually hear what's happening. Okay, so I'll leave that be, but I'm definitely going to have chapter marks to be able to leave that gap, so that way, you know, if somebody wants to just get to the final stages and that don't want to hear all the bleeps and bloops and things that it's going to do, you can totally just fast forward to that part too. So yeah. I'll make sure the chapters are there to be able to help you out. But let's take a quick look at the wiring diagram. Okay, so the first major thing that I want to show you here is the different variants of wiring. Okay, so in this scenario, we're going to be treating this like an overdrive pedal. Okay, so essentially what that's going to have us doing is taking a TRS cable out of output 2, right? So your second output on the back of the Nano Cortex, you're gonna have a cable going from the back of output 2 to the input of your pedal, okay? And then for your output of your pedal, you're gonna have another cable going out of the output of the pedal to the capture input on the right-hand side of your Nano Cortex. And at that point, you're going to have to make a choice too when you start working on gain as to whether or not you need to boost that gain. We'll get to taking a look at that in a moment when you need to make that decision, and I'll show you how you're going to make that decision by looking at the interface and seeing what it tells you whether or not you're clipping. And that's going to be the big part of making a decision on if you need to be able to use that boost or not. Okay. For most, I'll tell you right now, for most overdrive pedals, you're probably not going to need that boost. Okay, because most of them are going to push enough signal that you're not going to need to boost that signal more in order to get a clean capture. So more than likely, if you're doing overdrive, that's the case. For other amps, especially clean amps, you're probably going to find a potential need to push them depending on how that's going to go. Okay, so that's how we're going to work. It's going to be output 2 of your Nano Cortex to the pedal input on your pedal. Pedal output then is going to capture input on your Nano Cortex. Basically, you're going to do very similar if you're doing an amp or an amp cab combo. Okay, so if you're going to do an amp and cab combo, you're going to go output 2 on your Nano Cortex to the amp in, okay, and then your capture input cable is going to be whatever microphone you're going to be miking your cabinet with. So if you say, for example, using a SM57 or something similar, that SM57 is going to have an XLR cable, right? That's going to go to a TRS end on it, and you're going to mic that up, put it against the cone wherever you're going to put it on the cabinet, and then that input is going to go to the capture input on the right-hand side Same as the overdrive pedal example I just told you on the side of the Nano Cortex, okay? Finally, if you're going to be capturing an amp head with no speaker, okay, you're going to go output 2 on the Nano Cortex to the amp in, and then amp out is going to, this is an extra step, okay? If you're not going to be capturing with a speaker, you obviously have to have some kind of load box that you're working with, right? So you'll have an amplifier, you'll have a load box in those scenarios. So if that's the case, your output 2 from the Nano Cortex is going to go amp in, then amp out is going to go to your load box speaker, whatever you have set up to be able to take that load out for that wattage, right? And then your load box balanced out is going to then go to that capture input. So out 2 on Nano Cortex to amp in, amp out is then going to go to your load box. Your load box balanced outs are then going to go to the capture input on the Nano Cortex. So those are your 3 main examples of what you can expect to see when it comes to the wiring setup, okay? So now let's get into actually doing a capture. All right, so let's capture our dark glass photon overdrive and preamp pedal. So the first thing we're going to do to get started is we are going to look for the capture button. It's right at the middle of the top of the Nano Cortex, and we're just going to give that a press. So this is assuming now that you've done all the cabling like we just discussed previously. Okay, so make sure you have your cabling configured before you go into this mode. Once you do, go ahead and click capture. All right, now what is going to happen now is if you play your guitar, in this case it's a bass guitar, you should hear output from your guitar going through the pedal and then hearing the output on the other side of what that sounds like via the Nano Cortex. And the way you're going to hear that is either through your headphone jack or through the other output cable that's there. So output 1, either you put that to a monitor or something like that so you can hear what's going on, or use your headphone jack so you can hear that as well. I have this actually running through the audio interface, and I'm actually catching this through my studio monitors here. So that's how you're hearing me be able to play right now in my configuration. But either use output 1 or use your headphones, okay? So next, so we've hit capture. That's what we've done at this point, okay? Next, we need to get enough of your gain volume to be able to actually have a good capture. And there is an LED ring that's going to light up when you start to play your guitar, okay, to get started here, that we need to get into a green state. So when you start playing right now, like watch me hit this a couple times and watch the ring around the gain knob right here, okay? Do you see that blue? Blue means that you need to raise the gain. You need more gain. It's not loud enough, okay? It's not able to get a solid read on that signal yet. So we need to slowly start creeping that gain up in order to get ourselves to green. And you want to get as far around this ring in green playing. Now, I would say have your guitar's volume turned up all the way and strum pretty hard. Strum as hard as you think you would, and then maybe a little bit more. Doesn't mean you got to be slamming on your guitar or do anything else, but do get some volume in there. Don't just like do really light plucks. Like really give it to this a little bit, because you want to make sure that you don't go into the red. If you see red at all happening on this ring, it means you're clipping. It means you're losing signal. You're sending too much and it's going to clip and lose that portion of signal. Okay, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in blue and you don't want to be in red. You want to be in green, and you want to be as far around the ring in green as you can without going into red. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this gain knob up. Now you see, I'm starting to see a little bit of green there. Let's keep going. A little bit more. No red yet. No red yet, we're just into green. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. Okay, so now we've gotten to a point where our gain is where it needs to be to keep us in green and not give us any clipping. Okay, so that's good. Now level is the level of output that you're getting out of the speaker right now. So basically how much you're monitoring, okay, and what you're going to hear during that process of being able to do that. So I have mine at about noon right now. That seems to be plenty, and I'm not hearing any distortion or anything else. It sounds good to me. So what we're going to do now that we think that we have our gain to where it needs to be, so we've clicked the capture button, we've staged our gain and gotten our volume to where it needs to be. Now's the part of just letting the Nano Cortex do its thing, sending its test signals and such through, and running it through a loop, okay, a closed loop that you can hear if you put your headphones on and want to hear that. You can hear some of that output as it goes through the process, but it basically takes about 5 minutes, runs a loop of sound effects and different things, processes what it heard, and then it finally completes and will give you the option to do A and B comparison, okay, where you'll need your guitar again, because what you're going to do is you're going to play and hear what neural capture is going to sound like. And then if you click foot switch 1, you're going to then be able to play directly on the device like you were right now when you were auditioning it and making sure it's good. And you can switch back and forth between your neural capture and the device and hear, do I hear any differences? Do I hear something that's not quite right or that I need to adjust? And once we get to that point, that's where you can adjust and gain a little bit more, and you can start doing some EQ work to be able to see, do I need to add a little bit more bass to make this sound like the original, or do I need to take some away? Same with mids, same with treble. So those will be a couple of things we'll get to in a minute after this capture is complete. So here's what I'm going to do. Once I click on capture, you're actually going to press and hold capture for 3 seconds. Okay, and when you do that, it's going to kick off the process, and you'll slowly start to see it get 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, all the way around this ring of LEDs on the capture until it's finally complete on the, I believe it's 6th or 7th one. Once it hits that LED and it stops, you're going to notice a green light over here above foot switch 1. When that happens and capture is kind of over here blinking, you'll know that you're in a state where now you can do that A/B testing and kind of check some of that out. Okay, so we're going to get to that point, and then we'll look and see what we're going to do. Now, what I'm also going to do is set this up so I can record some of these little bleeps and bloops and noises and things like that that's going through this. In case you want to hear it and you didn't use headphones or do anything else, I'm going to show you what that sounds like too. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, I don't care about that. I don't want to sit here for 5 minutes staring at it too. If that's the case, no problem. I'm going to have a chapter mark that's going to show the end of the capture, so you can skip all this crap if you want to. That's totally fine. But for those of you that want to hear it or do that, I'm going to capture it so that way you have that too. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and hold capture for 3 seconds here, and we'll start the process. I'll set the guitar down and just kind of hang out and wait for this to get done. And then once it does, we'll start doing our auditioning and check that out. Okay? So let me go ahead and make my update to my input so you're going to be able to hear the bleeps and bloops. Okay, and now I am going to press and hold capture for 3 seconds, and it's going to start the process. Okay, our neural capture is complete. I have my NG3 Dingwall here with a dark glass preamp. What I'm going to do is a little bit of A/B comparison testing between the neural capture and the pedal itself, okay? So quick disclaimer, I've turned off the noise suppression on the actual pedal. So you're gonna hear a little bit of static, a little bit of noise whenever I switch back and forth. That static when I'm running on the actual pedals because it has no noise suppression whatsoever, okay? With the neural capture, it's kind of weeded out some of that noise that it was hearing in the capture, so it's not going to be present when you actually hear that. So there's going to be a slight discrepancy in the way that sounds, but I think for the most part, from what I'm hearing anyways, I'm pretty sure that it's just dropped some of that noise shelf that was there, and the rest of the tone is present. And I definitely think if I was to just bring a little bit of the gain forward on the neural capture afterwards, it's going to be even closer into that margin of kind of doing that to a point where I'll probably need to use noise suppression on the Nano Cortex itself to stop that noise, same noise from happening at that point. Okay, so quick disclaimer, just want to make sure you understand when I'm switching back and forth here, there's going to be a little bit more of a distorted static because of that, okay? So right now we are on the neural capture channel, and I know that because on foot switch 1, there's a green light, okay? So the green light designates neural capture once you've gone through the process and it's complete. You're dropped basically here afterwards, okay? If I click foot switch 1 down and there's no green light, this is the pedal. This is the pedal itself. Click it back again. Now we're back to A, which in this case, A is going to be the neural capture. B is going to be the pedal with a bypass in this cable method, okay? So I'm gonna play a riff on the neural capture, and then I'm gonna go back, play the same riff again with just the pedal, and then I'm gonna try to play a little bit and then awkwardly try to like reach over and switch a couple times just so you can kind of like hear some of that difference, okay? So let's go ahead and play a riff here on the neural capture itself. There we go. So it's a little less on the distortion. There's a little less there, and I have a feeling if I boost gain slightly on the neural capture, it's going to catch that just fine. But the tone in the room, at least from my ears, so what I'm hearing, it's really close. That tone is really close. It's just a little bit of the distortion shelf is dropped, and I think some of that's that static. But yeah, I'm happy enough to be able to save this and then start to manipulate it some more. So at this point, now that I feel pretty good with the A/B, okay, there's not really much else that I'm going to do here besides go ahead and press and hold save. Okay. So now that I've started the process of pressing and holding save, you're going to see that these LEDs over foot switch 1 are starting to blink again. Okay. So let me pull this into just a sec. So with these LEDs flashing, we now need to select a preset neural capture bank that we are going to use to save this neural capture. Okay. So as soon as I start twisting this knob, you're going to see that now both the neural capture LEDs here right above the foot switch and bank are both flashing. I need to choose a bank and then choose a slot out of the 5. Remember, you have 25 neural captures that you can save on the device, okay? With 5 piece in each of the 5 banks that are there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go, since this is a base one, and I'm going to kind of stay true to the way that Neural originally kind of rolled up some of these neural captures. The last bank, bank 5, and the last 5 neural captures are base related. So I am going to go to bank 5, and I'm going to go and scroll all the way over to the 5th preset there. So what I want to do is I want to have the 5th neural capture in the 5th bank. So the 25th neural capture is going to be what I'm going to save over with my capture as it stands now. Okay, so now that I've selected all these things, I'm going to hold save for 3 seconds. You'll see save flash. As soon as that happens, it's done. It's written. Now I could still do that A/B testing back and forth here because it hasn't switched to actually being in performance mode. Okay, I basically just need to press exit. Now we're back into a usable mode. I can select my different neural captures. So if I go back and forth here, let's go to the first one. This is the first neural capture for bass. Okay. And now I'm going to scroll over to 25, the 5th on the 5th bank, and let's go ahead and hear my new neural capture. All right, so now that we've saved our neural capture, we need to go give it a name. That way we know what it's called and we won't accidentally delete or override it with another neural capture in the future, okay? You can only have 25 written locally, and right now it's only saved locally. So let's go ahead and walk through the app. We're going to give our neural capture a name. We're going to put in any other pertinent information we want to do in terms of classifying it. If you want to do hashtags, give it a description, save it, and then finally getting it uploaded to the cloud and making a decision if you want to just upload it and save it there for yourself, so you have a copy of it for the future, which I would strongly advise that you do, as well as being able to potentially save it to share it to the rest of the community if you'd like to do that, which I can totally show you how to do that too. And finally, I would then like to step through creating a preset with that neural capture, so that way you can see end to end what you do to actually make something usable as a preset that you could start to work with your new neural capture that you've made. So let's first go ahead and open the app. So on my iPad here, I'm going to open up Cortex Cloud, and I'm going to go to the device. Okay. And now we are going to scroll down to neural captures, and you'll see on the fifth bank, the last one, it's called Nano Cortex Capture. Okay. That's the one I just saved. That's my dark glass pedal. So we're going to go ahead and click the little edit button up there. I'm going to remove this default name, and I'm just going to put in my own. So we're going to call it, you have a few different classifications that you can make. Amp head, amp combo, amp and cab, pedal, and then capture. I'm going to keep with capture because this is a couple of those things put together with this preamp, including the IR. So I feel like that's the best way to be able to describe it. You can put in tags here. You can go ahead and add them just per name, whatever it is, like dark glass would be a tag, for example, that you can make. I'm not going to type those. Same with the description. I don't really want to go through making you watch me have to do all that right now. I'm just going to upload it to the cloud, and then I'll use the cloud to actually edit these things myself. And you can edit either in the app here or on your Cortex Cloud account itself on that website. So I would strongly suggest, and I'll put the URL to it too, but I'm going to strongly suggest if you don't want to just sit here and toy around with this on your phone the whole time, you can use the website too to be able to fill these in. It's a little easier, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. The preferred instrument, I'm going to set as bass. I don't want anybody to get that confused. It's definitely bass. You see the gain estimation is there, which is pretty reasonable. It's a high gain, preset with a distortion pedal. So that's exactly what I would expect to see here. Great. Okay, so I've got all the information I want. I didn't want to do tags and description, like I said right now. It's fine. We're just going to go ahead and save this. Okay, so we're going to click the save button. And there we go. It's saved. We have it renamed locally here, so it'll make sense to us. Now let's go upload to cloud. Just simply click the button. Takes a couple seconds. It says neural capture uploaded to cloud. So now it's up there. It's complete. I don't have to worry about deleting it or do anything. I can always get it back as long as Neural's cloud is up, and I can be able to access that from the app. Okay. So there we go. We've gotten into our capture. We gave it a name. We gave it some pertinent information. We've uploaded it to the cloud. So now we're safe. So if we create another neural capture or download something else of somebody else's and overwrite this slot, we can totally get this back at some point if we need to. Okay. So that's the first main part that I wanted to get through there, is just being able to show you that whole process. So we've closed the loop. We're done with our neural capture. Okay, we've got everything done. We've named it. We saved it. We're all good. Now, the last part is actually creating a preset. Now, a lot of you might know already how to do presets. That's fine. But for completeness, I'd like to go through that process to you really quick just to show you how to do that here. So let's go ahead and scroll down the app a little bit further. And we're going to see presets, okay? I'm sorry, up. I'm still getting used to this too. Up from where we were. So one up from neural captures is the preset assignment. So let's go ahead and click all presets, okay? And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Now remember, you can have 64 presets on the device and the cloud at the same time. You can have 4 loaded on total on the actual preset foot switches, and you can have 25 in total on the actual device itself. But there can be 64 that you can switch between using the app and being able to write them to the device, okay? So I'm going to click here on this next one right after bass fuzz because I want to create a new one, okay? And clicking on one of these empties then shows me create new preset. So I'm going to go ahead and tap create new preset. And now that I have that, we're going to go ahead and select a neural capture to put into that preset. So for me, I'm going to go all the way down to bank 5 at the bottom, my DG high gain with IR. I'm going to go ahead and click that. That is my neural capture. Those are a couple of my other ones. Now we are going to go down to cab, and I'm going to leave this off because I don't want a cab, right? My cab is already built into the neural capture, so I don't need that. Effects, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the noise gate, and I'm going to leave everything off for now. I'm just going to make this very, very dry with that. I don't really want a lot of those effects, and then we'll color that in as we kind of want to, obviously, and go from there. So we've got our neural capture selected. We've bypassed cab, so we're not going to have a cab on this. I went with a noise gate just in case if you're using a higher output pickup guitar, or my bass 6, for example. It's got these kind of like smaller coiled pickups that can get a little bit noisy when you have like lights and things going and things like that. So this noise gate will help quite a bit with the ambient noise that they're going to pick up with a high gain amp too. At any rate, we've got everything selected that we wanted to have here. Let's go ahead and click save. New preset. Let's go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to say dark glass high gain. Yeah, just high gain. Cool. We're on here. Okay. So there we go. We have our neural capture dark glass high gain. And if I look at the top here to look at my presets, show all presets, scroll to the bottom, I now see dark glass high gain listed right there. And just for continuity's sake, let's go ahead and pick up the guitar, turn up the volume. There we go. We have created a preset using our newly neural captured dark glass photon. We've given it a configuration, named it, uploaded it to the cloud, put it into a preset, and now you can flavor it any way you like. You can go through, change some of the gain settings, some of the overall tone to flavor for bass, mid, and treble, and then obviously any of the other effects to be able to add after it, which I might do a little bit more of offline. And then when I share this this preset, if you're a bass player or want to play around with it, be my guest. It's there for you. But I really do hope that this helped you to be able to get through creating a neural capture and a new preset with your new neural capture. There you go. Painless. Wrapped up. We got our first neural capture on the Nano Cortex. I showed you how to make the capture, how to cable it, a few of the different cabling scenarios you can go through. We captured our first device. We named it. We gave it a name. We uploaded it to the cloud. We made a preset with it. And yeah, that's about everything you need to get started with making your own neural captures and kind of doing that. Do remember as well that when you continue to work with different, say, community-based presets and neural captures that folks have out on Cortex Cloud, it's the same process for that preset, okay? You're just going to load it into that preset, save it, and then make changes however you like to any of the configurations and get that going. So I really hope you found this informative. Comments, questions, as always, please ask them below. I'm here to help you. Until next time, see ya.